Welcome. We've got an awesome session planned for you.
So the goal of today's session is to revolutionize the most profitable channel of your company's marketing strategy. So let's talk about how we're going to do this. How are we going to get you there?
Looking back, in December of 2013, WebinarJam reinvented what most people think of as a webinar.
Now, before WebinarJam, your typical old-fashioned webinar had flipbook quality slides. And by the way, we don't mean that as a compliment. That is not a good thing. It also had AM radio quality voice,
DOS-level design landing pages, an antique user interface, and a closed proprietary download required for every attendee.
It also, stunningly, had no video playback support, no community engagement, and it used proprietary manual video encoding. And from a marketer's perspective, it also had no follow-up mechanisms.
WebinarJam changed all that. WebinarJam's innovative technology was so profound that its users stopped calling webinars, webinars. They started calling them jam sessions.
In just the last year, WebinarJam has surpassed some incredible milestones. For example, WebinarJam currently hosts 17,237 WebinarJam users.
87,221 webinars were given.
176,291 webinar replays occurred.
And check out this stat. 30,428,461 webinar registrations.
So WebinarJam's growth and impact has simply been extraordinary.
And we're so proud that WebinarJam has hosted many truly massive webinars. One recent WebinarJam powered webinar hosted over 8,100 attendees. Not just registrants, we're talking attendees.
And now in 2015, we're taking the biggest leap since the release of the original WebinarJam. WebinarJam is reinventing webinars
again. Today, we're so proud to introduce to you our latest innovation. It's called WebinarJam Studio.
And WebinarJam Studio is a totally new application. It's a 100% new, optimized, and totally bulletproof code library.
It's designed from the ground up for the best possible user experience.
And it has breakthrough marketing, conversion, and traffic technologies to boost your webinar profit.
There are hundreds of features in WebinarJam Studio, many of which you cannot find on any other platform on the planet. Today, we're going to cover 6 of them with you.
Now, these breakthrough features were developed often because of extensive and deep collaboration with our top WebinarJam customers, as well as our incredible team. You see, our biggest goal for a WebinarJam Studio user is to give you the most control you've ever had over everything having to do with your webinars.
That took some rethinking and some dethinking. And it took some really cool engineering.
This first feature is called the Studio Control Center. Everything you need to create and control every aspect of your webinar, all in one highly customizable interface.
And it's beautifully and logically designed. It's fully customizable. It can be used solo in a separate browser tab with a dual screen display or on a separate PC or laptop.
That way it can be managed by a moderator on your team, but it's also so easy and intuitive to use that you can manage it yourself even while you're giving your own webinar presentation.
It reveals every new feature you need to give the best webinar possible all in one place, which is why this is the first WebinarJam Studio feature we want to show you. Everything happens in the Studio Control Center.
You'll be able to see view engagement and analytics. You'll be able to control your chats, your questions, polls, surveys, offers, videos, and something called feedback flow, which we'll get to in just a second.
Let's use the Studio Control Center as a jumping point to our next feature. It's something we call the video engine.
So people ask, what's that? Well, here's the thing. On a good webinar, you're going to demonstrate, you're going to teach, you're going to interact, and of course, you're going to sell. And WebinarJam Studio's core functions allow you to do that already with your web camera, with your presentation software, and also by screen sharing with your audience. But there's never been a feature like the video engine in any webinar software. It's like your own personal on-demand TV studio.
Here's how this works for you. You can preload up to 10 videos. They're HD quality picture. They have CD quality sound. It uses the most popular universal format, MP4. It plays on demand anytime you choose with a timer. And it mutes your mic and it shuts off your webcam. And when you're done, you can go back live as soon as the video is done.
So all of this technology actually works perfectly with your replay. Not only that, it's mobile friendly. So on most mobile devices, you have to actually engage a video player. Not true with WebinarJam Studio. There's no need for your user to click play when the new video starts. And we got to tell you, that took some very clever engineering, so clever that we actually are in patent pending status for the way that we display videos inside of WebinarJam Studio.
Yeah, it plays your videos back instantly. Why is that important? Well, when you have a video, you have the highest quality demonstrations with no ums and no ahs. This gives you your best offers and pitches edited with no mistakes. It's great for testimonials and social proof, and it's great for extended teaching.
Now, this creates something that we call hybrid webinars. So, for example, you can show up live and do your introduction and also be around for your question and answer towards the end of your webinar. But in between time, you could have pre-recorded training and your pitch. And this is really sensational for scheduled training programs as well, where maybe you want to get ahead and pre-record your training, but you still want to present it in a webinar format so you're there to answer questions when the training is done. What it comes down to is, how do you want your webinars to work?
Next, we've got a really cool piece of awesome. Remember how in the old technology webinars, when you made an offer, it would be a non-interactive call to action? You had to speak a link. You displayed your link, but the users couldn't click on it. And then in every slide in your presentation, you needed to have that link. With the first Webinar Jam, we added a truly interactive call to action. We called it Active Offers. It allowed multiple, fully controllable, clickable call to actions. It had sexy images that inspire action.
Well, with WebinarJam Studio, we're taking that up a notch. You see, the aspect of live webinars that creates great conversion is because it's an event. And when the event and your offer are about to end, conversion increases because of both urgency and scarcity.
We took a page right out of QVC and we added 2 tools to increase both urgency and scarcity. The first is the active countdown timer. This creates time urgency with total control. The second is active units display. This shows the number of units remaining in your offer. Again, you have total control.
And of course, you can do both automated or manual unit measurement. To get the automated part to work, it's simple. You can just add a WebinarJam code snippet to your thank you page for automatic unit remaining updating. So every time somebody hits your thank you page after they've checked out from your offer, WebinarJam knows that that person just made a sale. But guess what? Manual unit updating is even easier. And what you can do is you can monitor your shopping cart and update the units remaining manually. Isn't that cool? Just click on the up or down button and you can let your attendees know how many units are left.
Imagine how much more engaged your prospects will be when they can see specifics and the incredible positive effect this will have on your sales conversions.
Now, we're very excited about this next feature, and we can't wait to see what you do with it. This is a great one. It's a whole new level of engagement with webinars in WebinarJam Studio.
A lot of people are hung up on claiming credibility in marketing. So we asked ourselves, what's the best way to earn credibility? So here's something we incorporated into WebinarJam Studio. It's called Feedback Flow.
Now, during your Q&A, you can display key questions to your audience with a click of a button. So now, for example, maybe one of your attendees says, hey, do you take PayPal? With Feedback Flow, with that click of the button, your attendees actually can see that question. John asks, do you take PayPal? Well, the cool thing is, now you can answer it. But that's not all. Because of this new display technology, WebinarJam Studio also does social proof.
With a click, promote any feedback in your chat to the audience display. For instance, somebody says, Andy and Mike, I've purchased all of your products, and this is the best offer yet.
And of course, your moderator can display any feedback flow text at any time. So for example, if you've got to give more information out to everybody and it needs to be persistent information, you can use feedback flow. So you might put when your live event will be, which is in Austin on June 10th. You can tell them the information about when the replay will be available to the people that were on that webinar. And you can also use feedback flow to create more authority. So for example, if you say something pithy, your moderators can go ahead and add that to the display right in feedback flow.
Remember that little bit of code you put on your thank you pages? Now, when someone buys your offer, WebinarJam Studio knows. WebinarJam Studio tells you who just bought. And with the click of a button, you can display that buyer to your audience. That's how you earn credibility. with proof.
This is all part of an amazing new feature set of WebinarJam Studio. Now look guys, we're not the first to market with webinar software. That's fine because it took us just a little bit longer to get everything just right. Because we believe that WebinarJam Studio was always about creating the best architecture that supports your number one goal, the most profitable webinars from superior technology. And this next feature, ironically, might create the most profit, but it's not actually about your live webinar.
Earlier, we talked about some of the milestones that WebinarJam has achieved in such a short time. Here's one that really raised eyebrows. 176,291 webinar replays with WebinarJam 1.0. Now, that milestone is important. Money, and a lot of it, is being made during replays.
So we started to ask ourselves, how can we give more control to WebinarJam Studio users? And how can we make webinar replays more like a live webinar? Now, our beta testers were really excited about this. It's called Replica Replay.
You might have noticed this little button in the Studio Control Center. It allows you to download chat. Why would you want to do that? Well, lots of reasons, but the main one is so that your staff or you can go back and find ways to improve your next webinar or find an opportunity to close sales that may have been missed on the webinar.
But even more, that feature actually came to be because of Replica Replay. You see, our goal with Replica Replay was to help you recreate the same excitement an attendee gets when they attend a live webinar. And so first, we have to ask the question, where does some of that excitement come from? And the answer? Community, of course. So with Replica Replay, a webinar replay can now incorporate the live chat community exactly as it took place during the live webinar.
But that's not all. Replica Replay can include the video engine, your engagement displays, all the questions asked, the comments, your buyer announcements, feedback flow, and of course, your active offers.
And it now includes your community chat perfectly synced with your presentation, all in an exact replica of your live webinar presentation environment hosted on a page for you for free by WebinarJam Studio. It'll look just like the webinar did when it was actually live.
This is unlike anything else on the market. If they come to your webinar after it's over, they can still register, so you build your list and then they're redirected to the replay. So no more lost traffic or dead links.
But that's not all WebinarJam Studio offers with Replica Replays. Remember, it's all about control. So let's say that you wanted to edit your webinar before you issue the replay. No problem. All you have to do is tell WebinarJam where that edited video is, and it will use it instead. And it still presents your edited replay in the WebinarJam Studio webinar environment.
And you can have even more control. This third option, Redirect, allows you to send your webinar replay anywhere. For example, if you want your webinar replay to appear on your blog, your website, or in your members area, you can. And here's what's great. No matter what option you choose, WebinarJam Studio gives you control. Using WebinarJam Studio's email follow-up system, you can target attendees who didn't buy and send them a specific message. You can target attendees who did not attend and send them a different message, or you can target attendees who attended and send them yet another specific message.
That kind of prospect segmentation comes from WebinarJam Studio's built-in detailed analytics. Here, you can see everything that WebinarJam Studio tracks, and it tracks just about everything. The point is that that kind of control lets you custom tailor your message to get the most effective response from the person that you want to target.
There's no doubt that WebinarJam Studio is the most powerful marketing software that money can buy. And with Studio, we want to take the benefits of your hard work even further. We're excited to introduce Jams on Demand.
With Jams on Demand, you'll have a brand new stream of traffic, a growing tribe of consumers who love learning and buying from webinars.
You simply check one box on your Studio control panel, and when your webinar configuration is completed, your upcoming webinar is added to the Jams on Demand marketplace. Now, anyone browsing through the marketplace can register for your webinar.
But that's not all. We know that just having your recorded webinar on YouTube can get you great quality and quantities of traffic. So check this out. You see down right here, let's take a look at where traffic is coming from this WebinarJam encoded video. See, these YouTube videos, which were originally WebinarJam webinars, are getting almost half of their traffic from YouTube searches. I mean, that's pretty extraordinary because that traffic is 100% free.
As you already know, every time you do a webinar with WebinarJam, you have the option of having that recorded webinar automatically appear in YouTube's library. Now, we're taking that a step further. Your webinar replays can also be part of the Jams On Demand marketplace.
Now you've got a continuous way to capture new registrants and an always-on replay offer to generate new sales and profit. Of course, if you use WebinarJam Studio for coaching, training, or delivery of some of your consulting services, you can keep those jam sessions private.
We know how important a solid and steady stream of new prospects is to your growing business, and that's why we didn't stop here. In the Jams On Demand market, we've made it easy for affiliates to quickly ask you to promote your webinars and replays as well. Easy, simple, and powerful is the goal.
Right on your live webinar or replay listing is a live link that will let affiliates apply for your affiliate program.
And that's WebinarJam Studio.
It gives you deep control with detailed analytics so you can improve your marketing strategies.
It has multimedia integration so you can create the highest converting offers possible.
It allows for intimate engagement on every level with your audience.
It gives an offer experience that inspires action.
And replica replays that extend your sales by reaching a wider audience.
That's right. You have total control of everything before, during, and after your promotion.
And a new marketplace to help you get more qualified traffic.
Plus, everything about WebinarJam Studio has been optimized. You have full motion, high definition video with high fidelity sound.
A growing library of newly designed registration pages.
Easy to use email, SMS, and voice follow-up system.
One-click sign-up, multi-language capabilities.
It even has paid webinar registration, and all of it with no coding or HTML knowledge required.
And of course, you can have unlimited registrants and attendees.
We think WebinarJam Studio is a lot more than people thought it would be.
And those were just the features we were most excited to share with you today in this short amount of time. And there's just
one more thing.
Now, we've got to be upfront with you here. During its development, we made a very tough decision about a feature to not include in the original WebinarJam. It was a tough call because our competitor had this feature and we didn't. The thing was, it was by choice.
We're talking about telephone dial-in. It's called POTS, plain old telephone service. Even the name is a little bit ugly sounding, right?
And we decided to not include plain old telephone service because when we set out to create the most reliable and powerful webinar platform in the world, we were not trying to create the best radio platform in the world.
And truthfully, we got some initial questions about that decision. But it paid off because webinar attendees want to see video and hear good sounding audio. As you know, sometimes saying no to something gives you the freedom and the flexibility to focus on something else and find ways to use that focus to enrich your customers.
And that's what happened with this next WebinarJam Studio feature. We call this Attendee Spotlight, and it's just great.
You see, with Attendee Spotlight, you can invite any of your webinar attendees to instantly become a guest, host, or presenter in your webinar at any time. Ask your buyers to tell you why they purchased your offer. They can use their microphone, share their screen, or even activate their webcam and appear live to all your attendees.
Ask your great customers to share their great experiences with your other products. Let them tell everyone why you are the right person to trust.
You see a friend, celebrity, or known personality in the industry on your webinar? Well, invite them in for a few seconds to add to the engagement and boost your credibility.
This is absolutely amazing for Q&A, for coaching, for hands-on training, for guest appearances or demonstrations, for hot seats, for testimonials, and for live social proof.
Now, you can do this on the fly too. They don't need a special link. You don't need to know in advance who you're going to pick. You don't need to configure any special settings. You just do it, and it just works.
They raise their hands, you accept, they get a confirmation to join and are told that their webcam and mic will go live when they click. They show up, and when it's done, you click and they're gone. It's just that simple.
Isn't that incredible? Can you imagine the possibilities? Interview your prospects. You can answer specific and personal objections, create authority and earn trust, and let the power of Attendee Spotlight help you let others close more sales. And that's WebinarJam Studio.
It's the biggest leap in webinar technology yet. So big, it really is a crime to even call them just webinars. You see, we based many of the awesome ideas now in WebinarJam Studio on the same $50,000 technology that's in our actual broadcast video studio. And that one was designed to deliver network broadcast features to you.
But we never lost sight of the goal, to give you amazing tools that are dead simple to use so you can create the highest, most profitable results on every webinar you do. WebinarJam Studio is now your very own personal broadcast studio, and you can create any channel you want.
Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the price. So as a marketer, you know the price point of your product is usually treated as either an asset or an objection in your marketing message. Well, today, we get to treat it as a huge asset. Yes, that means it's very inexpensive, but let us sweeten the deal even more. It is a party after all.
It's bonus time. Welcome to the next generation. Bonus number 1. We're so proud to introduce a brand new solution for automated webinars, and you're the first to hear about it. And you can be the first to use it. It's called EverWebinar, and it's coming out in late June. And when unlocked, it works hand in hand with WebinarJam Studio.
Now, as you know, we pioneered world-class automated evergreen webinars before we even did WebinarJam with a tool called Evergreen Business Systems.
So now about automated webinars. Automated webinars allow you to record a perfect presentation or use a replay webinar video to act like an event or even a live webinar. It's true set and forget.
You set dates and times, people can watch it on demand, and the attendees watch the webinar and it simulates a live experience. So all you have to do is drive traffic to it and the software takes care of the rest.
Here's a really cool thing. You don't have to show up to do the webinars. It plays the perfect presentation for you every time, without fail, no exceptions.
Now, this is what you had to do before EverWebinar. You had to download a PHP script and install it on your server. You needed to have hosting, play with a MySQL database, set up cron jobs and mail settings. Well, guess what? All that is gone. Now, it's as simple as loading a video and answering a few questions.
EverWebinar is built in the same platform and framework as WebinarJam Studio, but as an option to unlock and buy separately or standalone with live webinars. When you own both, you can manage them in the same admin user interface. In the near future, EverWebinar will be priced to you and to the public at an amazingly low $297 per year, just like WebinarJam Studio.
But that's not what you'll pay today. You'll get a great deal that's, well, before we tell you what that deal is, there's another thing. Our hands-down best webinar training course is called Webinar Genesis. Webinar Genesis contains the sum total of the best webinar performance strategies based on literally hundreds of successful webinars. And it breaks them all down into the 5 absolute laws of a no-fail successful webinar.
You'll learn the law of maximum registration. This gets more registrants than you've ever had before.
You'll learn the law of maximum attendance and get the largest show rate to your webinars that you've ever had.
You'll learn the law of maximum stick strategies. This allows you to keep more attendees present for your offer.
And you'll learn the law of maximum offer conversion. Yeah, you probably know what that means already.
And you'll learn the law of maximum replay profit strategy and increase your total webinar sales by 50 to 70%.
This training was created with WebinarJam users in mind, so it's a perfect way to tweak your WebinarJam Studio webinars to their most profitable performances. Now, during Epic Results Week, you've seen the light version of the 5 laws, about 90 minutes of solid training. Webinar Genesis is over 7 hours of advanced training, including copy-paste formulas, full blueprints for webinar presentations and offers, and email copy examples for replay strategies so you can get the absolute most profit from your webinar campaigns.
Webinar Genesis was going to launch this summer for $497, but we thought, what better thing to do than to give it to you free during the grand opening?
Where are we so far? So that's WebinarJam Studio, EverWebinar, and the complete Webinar Genesis webinar training course. But we've saved quite possibly the best for last.
The opportunity we're about to explain to you may be the most significant move that Andy and I have ever made in internet marketing. We've spent the last 24 months and over 8 figures of transactions perfecting what we're about to show you. So forgive us if we get really excited.
Here's what happened. We ran out of duct tape and we decided that we're not going to buy it anymore. What we mean is we got sick and tired of trying to wire all of our money-making systems together and trying to make them integrate with our shopping cart. And we tried them all, and we stopped doing it because, as you know, it just doesn't work.
And it didn't stop there. Talking to everyone we knew in the industry, it seems we all had the same pain and the same problems.
So let me ask you, how happy are you with your current shopping cart platform? Are you sick and tired of trying to get your landing pages to talk to your tracking systems?
Are you sick of trying to get your help desk to talk to your lead scoring systems?
Have you had enough trying to calculate ROI from 5 different analytics sources? Because you know they all track differently when your shopping cart should be doing all of this for you.
Or how about this headache? Are you sick of trying to get your brand new customers into your membership site?
What about being sick of outdated video player technology that has to be wired into everything just for it to work?
Are you sick of paying a programmer or having to get a full-on consulting firm just to get your shopping cart to work the way it's supposed to?
I mean, are you sick of still having to use the literal equivalent of 10 additional tools just after paying the equivalent of a Lexus payment in order to get all this stuff to work?
Look, we understand that marketing can be complex, but it doesn't need to be complicated. And that's why we created Kartra.
Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. And today, we are reinventing the shopping cart the same way WebinarJam Studio reinvented the webinar.
In fact, maybe even more.
So we're so excited about this announcement, we want to share with you some of Kartra's super powerful features.
It has full integration with WebinarJam and EverWebinar, and it will also have a campaign builder to build funnels and campaign sequences with rules based on actions and advanced taggings and conditionals.
Kartra Pages gives you pre-made templates for you to publish for things like opt-in pages, video sales letters, upsells, product launch pages, and surveys, all with an editor so that you can customize them to your liking.
And you will have a full CRM, customer relationship management, to do your email marketing, your autoresponders, your broadcast emails, and email split testing.
Plus, it extends that CRM with things like SMS texts, voice broadcasts, and posting to social media right from within your dashboard.
It also has the most powerful shopping cart to allow you to sell your digital and physical products, your software, your membership sites and your continuity programs, your coaching, and anything else that needs a transaction to create a sale online.
You get to sell unlimited products at multiple price points.
And here's the one that has people so excited. Yes, it takes care of the VAT, the VAT taxes, and sales tax calculations for you.
Plus, it even handles the W-2s and 1099s for your affiliates.
How about processing? Well, you can process with your own merchant account with things like Authorize.net, Stripe, PayPal. We even have Braintree, and of course, there's Kartra Pay to get you started immediately. And with Kartra Pay, we do the processing for you automatically.
It has the most powerful affiliate program and tracking to handle all types of affiliate programs.
Kartra has end-to-end business intelligence. So this allows you to have built-in analytics tracking, lead scoring, link tracking, and get the most important things like ROI, EPC, and customer value metrics.
And all of this content is connected and you can manage it that way. That means you can have role-driven membership sites created for you where you can deliver your videos, your downloadable documents, and your written content. You can also drip content over time, and because Kartra is aware of your customer status, you can advertise your product catalog to your best customers when Kartra discovers that they don't own all of your products. You see, by connecting key systems together, Kartra opens up a world of possibilities. Like with its integrated video player, you'll have visibility into your viewer retention metrics. That way you'll be able to execute viewer optimization strategies. Plus, you can create action-based or time-based events like call-to-action buttons that appear at a certain time, or email opt-in forms that appear during a certain event. And you can also display images based on a certain trigger. And of course, when you want to, you can redirect all of your visitors at one time to wherever you want, all with Kartra's video player technology.
And of course, it has a fully featured support and help desk that you can deploy instantly. Kartra has everything that we wanted for our business. That's why we put into it every tool we needed to market, sell, and deliver everything we make.
But you've probably heard all of that before, right? All in one, one-stop shop. You know what? So have we. And we don't blame you for being the least bit skeptical. But just think about it.
What if it really is everything we say it is? How would that change the way your business runs? How much could you earn with just that handful of features we mentioned? If all of those features talked to each other and gave you the most detailed information, how much could you save when you don't need a shed full of other tools?
Well, We're going to make it easy for you to decide, easy for you to put Kartra to your own test, easy for you to prove us wrong or prove us right.
And before you worry about the price, let's get that out of the way right now. You see, we're going to give you 3 months free, and if you like it, it can cost you less than $100 a month. So you can kill the $700 a month you're paying your current shopping cart and 10 other tools and replace that with a luxury car of your choice.
So here's what you can have today. The brand new WebinarJam Studio, a full year license, 6 months use of EverWebinar, the complete Webinar Genesis training program, Kartra Professional, a 3-month full access account. Now look, that's a real $1,200 value, not some phantom number. That's what it would and will cost you to purchase these tools separately. But here's what you can have today.
So let's recap. The brand new WebinarJam Studio, a full year of use, 6 months of EverWebinar, the complete Webinar Genesis training program, Kartra Professional 3-month full access account, and today you can have it all for $297.
So maybe you have some questions. Why don't we just take a couple of seconds and go over some of the most frequently asked questions so you know exactly how this offer works? Well, let's do that. Let's break it down. You see, during this grand opening for WebinarJam Studio, you get a full year of unlimited access. Now, after a year, if you want to renew, because you're taking advantage of this grand opening, after 12 months, you can renew for just $297 for the next year, and the next year, and the next year. Pretty cool, right? So what about Webinar Genesis? Well, that's pretty simple. Boom, it's yours. You own it forever. And what about EverWebinar, which is part of this grand opening offer? You can use it for 6 months, and if you want to use it after that 6 months, it's just $297 per year, not per month. But you've got a full 6 months to try it out and see whether or not you like it. And then there's Kartra, which is also part of this grand opening offer. When it's ready and you're ready, you can activate a 90-day trial. So no, we're not going to try to force you to do something you're not ready for. And if you like it, you can keep using it for as low as $99 per month. So let's just recap that for you. That's WebinarJam Studio for a full year, Webinar Genesis, the complete package, 6 months use of EverWebinar, where you can renew at $297 after 6 months if you want to, and 90 days full use of Kartra. And after that 90 days, it's totally up to you. You can continue for as low as $99 a month. And you get all of that for $297 today.
Next question, what if I don't take this offer today? Well, you can buy them separately after the grand opening. Just keep in mind, WebinarJam Studio is going up $100 per year, so that will cost you $397 per year. You can buy Webinar Genesis separately for $497. EverWebinar would cost you $297 per year to get started on day one, and Kartra would start you at $99 per month starting on day one.
So what happens after 90 days of Kartra? If you love it, keep it. And the price for our professional version starts at just $99 per month, and you can cancel at any time. Well, my crystal ball says that you're going to love it, but we wanted you to be able to decide for yourself.
Next question. When are WebinarJam Studio, Kartra, and EverWebinar available? Well, WebinarJam Studio is available right now. Kartra will be available in the last half of June with core features. Kartra Pages and Kartra Video will be ready this summer.
And EverWebinar will be ready in late June. And you'll also get access to Webinar Genesis immediately. So next question, what if I pay the $297 and I don't like it? Because it's Mike and Andy talking, you've got 30 days to figure it out. And if you don't like it, you get your monies back like a boss, like we've always done.
Now you may be asking, how is WebinarJam different from WebinarJam Studio? Well, specifically, it's 100% brand new from the ground up. For the geeks out there, it was coded in the best coding framework out there, Laravel. Everything is faster, even more reliable, more secure, and completely redesigned.
Now, fundamentally, WebinarJam Studio is our vision for what webinars are becoming, and we believe that they're becoming personal desktop broadcasting. You could say that the old-fashioned webinar is fading away, but it's being replaced by rich multimedia streaming, viewer interaction, and social integration. So WebinarJam Studio is the beginning of our journey with you down that path.
How is EverWebinar different from replica replays? Well, that's a good question. A replay is served on demand to your previous attendee or a previous registrant who might have missed a live jam session. They know they are watching a replay or something that was live. It's like they recorded the Super Bowl on Sunday to watch it a few days later when it's convenient for them. They know it is not live and it doesn't matter to them. They just want the content on demand.
In contrast, an EverWebinar creates a pre-recorded time-based event. Think of it like this. EverWebinar does everything that WebinarJam Studio does, except when it's time to attend the webinar. With EverWebinar, your attendees will be viewing a pre-recorded webinar-style video. It's 100% event-based, on a certain date, at a certain time, not on demand like a webinar replay. You see, it's designed to give all of the sensations of a live event.
Think of it this way. People go to the movies to see something pre-recorded. They want to see it with a packed theater, not be the only person in the theater. EverWebinar creates that simulated experience, the appearance of a live webinar or live event. More attendance, more engagement, more urgency, more scarcity, higher conversions, all automated forever.
How long does this deal last? I want to think about it. It literally lasts a handful of days. At the end of the grand opening of WebinarJam Studio, all of the additional bonuses go away and the price of WebinarJam Studio will increase.
If I don't take this deal now, can I take it in a few months? Quite frankly, no. This is a one-time thing, seriously. Of course, you can purchase any public offer available that's available after the grand opening.
So what happens next? Once you make your purchase, you'll get an email with instructions to log on to the WebinarJam Studio app. Whenever webinar becomes available, you'll see an access link to it right in your WebinarJam Studio interface, and that's because they're so closely integrated. You'll also get another email with access to the Webinar Genesis training. And finally, when Kartra becomes available, you'll get an email for that as well.
Do we plan on integrating Kartra, WebinarJam Studio, and EverWebinar? Well, that's a great question, and yes, it's already underway. These apps were built to work together. Boom.
This is a good deal. Yeah, we think so. So the question is, why are you doing this? And the answer is simple, because we have big plans. We've always wanted to unite every aspect of internet marketing. We want to connect social media, video, community, and content with commerce. Seriously, since our first shopping cart, we've all dreamed of having a universal dashboard. One place to control everything. One set of tools to increase speed to market and amplify results by leveraging work we have all done, are doing, and will continue to do. You see, we have big plans, and we need smart customers to blaze this trail with us. That's why.
Plus, an enthusiastic case study or testimonial from y'all would be pretty cool.
So here's what you can have today. The brand new WebinarJam Studio, 6 months use of EverWebinar, the complete Webinar Genesis training program, and Kartra Professional, a 3-month full access account. And today you can have it all for just $297. So somewhere on this page is a pre-order button. Well, we've got good news for you. We're releasing a little early, so if you'd like to get ahead of the queue and make sure that you get every bonus that we're talking about and be one of the first people to get inside of WebinarJam Studio, go ahead and click that pre-order button and you can get started immediately.
We'll see you inside the WebinarJam Studio dashboard.